Hello, welcome to News Desk. My name is Kemini Nyamani. This morning, the plant shut down of the fall water treatment. I'm sure you recall it's for February 27, just a day to it, and then we'll be finding out exactly the preparations people are making. We'll talk to the PURC. You recall also the PURC had asked the Ghana Water Company not to shut down the pond water treatment plant until they had alternative measures in place for consumers. And we understand the sector minister this morning briefed the media on the situation, and we'll bring you up to speed exactly what he said when we were joined by our reporter who was there for us. And then the Kumasi Central Market was ravaged by fire last night, less than a year after about 30 shops were razed down in a similar fire incident. Now, we'll also be speaking with Junior Staff Association of STC Transport Company on how the fortunes of the company will be revived. I'm sure you also remember that the managing director of the company had mentioned there were 80 buses short of the usual number they need, and it's affecting the smooth running of the business. We'll find out exactly what the junior staff of the STC Company Limited mean by how the fortunes of the company can be turned around. Don't forget you can share your thoughts and comments with me on our social media platforms, Joynews on TV, on Facebook and on Twitter. On my personal handle on Twitter as well, at Kemini. I'll be glad to read your messages. Let's get into our first issue of the day. And President John Mahama has attributed the current economic turbulence mainly to dependence on exports of raw materials. In his address to the nation, he was emphatic that the economic challenges are temporary, as a medium-term development framework is now in place to change the current structure of the economy. Let's have a playback of that.
President Mahama in his second State of the Nation address acknowledged the pressures on the economy and the unpleasant measures government have had to introduce to address the economic challenges. For him, aside the global economic slowdown that has trickled down to Ghana, the entire economy needs a radical change. He believes the difficulties that Ghanaians are currently facing will soon be over as government is working on an overhaul of the economy.
We must change the structure of our economy. We must reduce the importation of items that we have a comparative advantage to produce. I have dialogued with the NDPC that is working on this plan and urge them to come out with a plan that fundamentally addresses this weakness in the structure of our economy. I have specifically asked them to handle the process of drawing up this plan in a way as to create a buy-in from all Ghanaians, irrespective of political affiliation or societal status. I wish to assure this august House and the good citizens of Ghana that, as with the taste of any bitter medicine, this turbulence we are going through is temporary. And I assure you that we shall begin to see the benefits of the sacrifices we are making very soon.
He expressed worry over the import-driven nature of the economy, stating that Ghana in 2013 alone imported produce worth $1.5 billion, with rice being the highest with $374 million worth of import. President Mahama, however, indicated that several projects are ongoing to strengthen the local manufacturing industry to boost exports and ensure patronage of made-in-Ghana goods.
A fundamental problem of our economy is that we do not make what we consume. Financing has been finalized for the construction of a new sugar processing plant in Komenda. This would reduce our importation of sugar. We are also in discussion with another private investor about the establishment of another sugar processing plant in the northern region near Sablugu. I have tasked the Cocoa Board to enter into a strategic partnership to produce jute sacks in Ghana. This will begin by the importation of the jute fiber and the sewing of the sacks locally, but it will be eventually backward integrated into the production of kenaf and the weaving of the jute fibers locally. Mr. Speaker, when this is achieved, Cocoa Board will be required to halt the importation of jute sacks for cocoa and buy all its sacks from this factory.
Although the recent regulations of the central bank are in full force, President Mahama urged investors not to panic as the country remains peaceful, safe and secure. He also assured investors that the repatriation of their profits is still guaranteed and the Bank of Ghana's measures will not affect the existing agreements with businesses. Abigail Admakwenchi for Joy News.
I'm joined by John Gachi, he's an economist and lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School on over the telephone. I also have Franklin Kojo, who is founder and president of Imani Ghana, over the telephone as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on News Desk. Well, I understand we have lost both of them, but I'm sure we'd raise them over the telephone again and then discuss the matter at hand. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the President's State of the Nation address as far as reviving the economy is concerned. You can do so by sharing them on Facebook, Joy News on TV, or on Twitter, Joy News on TV. Let's move on to some other issue and talk about water. Well, let's go back to our previous issue. I understand we have both gentlemen over the telephone. Franklin Kojo is founder and president of Imani Ghana. He's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Franklin.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on News Desk. What's your impression as far as the president's delivery on the economy is concerned?
That I was a bit disappointed, if not hugely, to the extent that the state of the economy was not given the priority that it deserved, except to peck at the problem and then leave it and then make it look as if we were fine. I mean, the terminologies used, the extent that the economy is sound, was quite not clearly the case. Because as you and I know, the economy is really not that sound. Unless you want to go into the other details, but I think that on the score of the economy, I think clearly speaking, I didn't see any coherence, any innovativeness, and indeed any forward thinking in terms of how to ameliorate the current situations that over 70% was self-inflicted.
I see, Franklin. I'm going to have you hold on. Let's introduce John into the conversation. John Gachi is a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. He's also an economist. Hello, John.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us on News Desk. As far as the economy is concerned, what do you think about the President's State of the Nation?
Your last question, please.
I'm asking that as far as the economy is concerned, what do you think about the President's delivery of the State of the Nation's address?
Well, I think we were expecting the President to tell us what he knows about the difficulties that we are facing, if he's really on top of us. And we were also expecting to know what measures he has put in place, if those measures were yielding some fruit. What are we supposed to expect from him going forward? What new strategies has he got to deal with the economy in a holistic manner? And to be very objective to the President, he showed that he understood that we are facing some specific challenges in the economy, and he has also indicated to us some of the measures that he put in place. He went forward to clearly indicate to us that some of the measures seem to be very long-term, that we need to change our attitude, and government should now refocus its policies in terms of grooming businesses in the country and ensuring that we can consume some of the things that we have competitive advantage in producing. Of course, we all know that one of the huge problems of the economy is current account deficit. If we decompose the current account deficit, it will come to over-importation, and it will come to low productive capacity in the country. So if I hear a president who thinks that we need to refocus on ensuring that we give power to Ghanaian productive sector, then I think that he understands the situation. But he needs to come forward with other second-level policies to achieve that. For example,
we'll come to what those second-level policies are. But Franklin, the President did mention the fact that we were putting measures in place to deal with our imports. For instance, he mentioned how we were going to start up the jute, we were going to start the manufacturing of jute sacks for the cocoa processing company, and how we were going to revive the Commander sugar factory. Isn't he on track then?
is actually pinpointing to you and to your viewers is the fact that these are problems that are known from age old. I recall when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I knew about the Commander, I knew about the sugar factories and all of that. I mean, the president's own party and the late Professor Mills gave some indication as to how much of our cocoa would have to be processed as we speak. And that was a manifesto promise, 60% of the cocoa will be processed. Now, nothing of the sort had happened. And so we can't continue saying the problems that we know and actually doing things that are not even thought of or planned at the beginning of the year. How does these measures that have been announced, and by the way, they are age-old problems, never attempted to solve them, how are they realistically going to affect the budget outline? You see, I think we've gotten to a stage where everything that is said, whether as a promise or as a perennial issue, has got to be costed. And as I see, the president was all over the place, mentioning too many things with a little bit of coherence, and there was no coordination. And at the end of the day, we are saddled with another situation of political just speaking.
Right, and John, that brings me to the question of, the president did say a lot of things, but the how to do those things were not mentioned. Isn't it a bother? We know the problem, we know the solution, but how to put the solution to work didn't come out clearly.
Is this still for Franklin?
No, for John. Hello, John.
The policy outlook that I was talking about. For example, we know that Cocoa Board spent a lot of money with President tax. This will turn out to be a multi-million business that will actually relieve Cocoa Board somehow in terms of the foreign currency that they use to import these items. But when it came to rice, I was expecting that the directive for the president should create a market that will encourage the producers of locally produced rice. I was expecting something like using the school feeding program as a very good market. I was expecting that the president would give a directive that henceforth or going forward, maybe 80% of all the rice that we are going to use for the school feeding program will be locally produced rice.
So then, John, you do agree that for implementation, how to do this, where to get the money to do this, what's not clear?
These areas are not in terms of money per se. These are clear policy directives that you need to give out, and that will engineer how things will be done. Of course, in some of the issues that you raise, you need to mobilize money to be able to do those things. For example, he indicated that he was going to ensure that the 200 schools are those. That clearly means you need to cost them. You need to see whether they factor them to the 2014 budget, whether we have a source of funding for them. But some of the issues you do not need to talk about costing. You just give a directive and they ought to be done. And that will actually re-engineer the whole cycle of rice production from first principle. But that is what I was talking about, the second level policy direction that was not given.
I see. Franklin, I also know that Imani came out with some business ideas the president could consider. Give us a summary of that. Hello, Franklin.
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm not sure I did.
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm saying that, first of all, the level where we were suggesting that there must be some semblance of coherence and some sort of action when it comes to policy making and implementation. We did say that you can't expect the manufacturing sector or local industry to help you or to plug the gaps that we do have when they are giving you 35% of their sales revenues in the form of taxes. We can't go on like that. We also said we've got to fix the energy situation. The energy situation is unfortunately being approached as if Accra, Kumasi, Sekondi still have populations in the 1980s or 1990s. I think we need to do that reality check. And essentially, we were also arguing that for the cocoa sector, there must be some sustainable plans towards adding value. Things that have been said oftentimes, and as the learned lecturer they tell you. But I have to tell you finally in my concluding remarks that you see, when we talk about setting milestones and then telling us exactly how they'll be achieved, that is at the crux of leadership when it comes to policy orientation and its development. If you say that you're going to, the country needs an infrastructure, the country needs about 4 billion Ghana cedis to effectively tackle infrastructure every year, that's a statement we all know about. What has been done? What has not been done is the fact that the World Bank has promised a lot of the money. Out of $2.5 billion that the World Bank has promised sitting in the government chest, we still have about $1.5 billion that is yet to be taken to at least plug this infrastructure loopholes. So I see the discordance between policy and promises. So those are the things I'll say.
Let's make this my final question. Over the past year till now, from what the President has told us as a State of the Nation's address, comparatively to 2013, has there been any growth? Has there been any change at all?
If the question is for me?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you that I think in terms of reading the statement, that in itself has been depreciated from a 40% mark to about 23 that we are given. I think that nothing really has changed. And even some of the key things that is said in 2013, we didn't see them mentioned as in where they've reached. And those are the things the learned professor is also telling you. Media fund, we didn't hear anything. Some of the major things that were mentioned, you didn't see a sense of any belongingness to a state that seems to be serious with the situation at hand, unfortunately, madam.
I see. This 23%, how did we arrive at it?
Well, I've got to tell you that in terms of content, this is my own rating. In terms of content, in terms of delivery, I rate the president 8 out of 10%. In terms of innovativeness, I rate him 1% out of, I think, 15%. In terms of the economic understanding, the soundness of our economy, he gets 3% out of 40. In terms of the believability, I think he gets, again, 8% out of 15. And then there's the last one, which I'm still forgetting how I put it, but clearly all of this come to 23 percentage point.
I see. Thank you very much, Franklin. But I still have John Gachi over the telephone. John. Right, so you were mentioning your second-level policies, considering the President had done well with mentioning some policies he had to put in place to keep the economy driving. Those second-level policies, what would they be?
I've just mentioned one, that we have a food feeding program which is growing on a daily basis. They consume a lot of corn, they consume a lot of rice. If we want to actually empower Ghanaian businesses and to ensure that going forward we reduce imports, especially with respect to rice, then the second level policy I was expecting is to give directives that henceforth we want to consume locally produced rice for the school feeding program. And that will be a huge market, and that can change a lot of things. He has done that for the youth factory. I know how the effect that it will have on the cocoa bond finances. There are other sectors that he talked about that he needed to actually give clear guidance as to how those things should be implemented and achieved. And as I was saying, those that needed to be considered, it will take a long time to do that. But those that will just make a clear policy that will affect ministries, MDAs, etc., to refocus the way they do their contracting and the purchasing. I was thinking that should have been the second level policy directive. That will actually ensure that these things are done, but not just identifying them. But he showcased the issue of the shoe manufacturer yesterday. That was good. But what are we going to do going forward? Are we going to create some market for the shoe factory? So those are the things that will come. Is it going to be, manufacturer for the shoes for, let's say, school children or for the military or those kind of things? So we need to think through so that we give proper incentives and support for people who want to help to achieve that particular policy.
But John, isn't it also disappointing that considering the importance of the manufacturing sector to us, as far as the growth of our economy is concerned, in 2013, SONA, the president made mention of the industrial fund, also made mention of the fact that would give them some service plots to be able to expand industries in the country. In 2014, SONA, there was no mention of any of those things, the progress made on that, and whether it is going to happen or not.
You can raise that point because my expectation is that the president will not be in position to outline all those issues from 2013 up. But that is an important thing that we can follow up. But again, we also need to be very objective to our economy. If we want all those things that have been outlined to be done, we need to do the analysis based on a particular economic environment. The environment that we have experienced from 2010 up to date.
Right.
Are we sure, as objective analysts, that it is possible to raise all this money to do all these things? If we do not do that, then it means that we are just putting ahead of us a target that we know very well that we cannot achieve based on the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Based on the economic circumstances in which we find ourselves, I do not expect too much from what we have achieved so far.
But the point of the State of the Nation is to tell us what we did, how we managed to do it, what we couldn't do, and why we couldn't do it. Isn't it?
That is exactly so. And my understanding yesterday was that it is very clear to us that we need more revenue mobilization to do that. And we have been told that there are challenges in terms of revenue mobilization. We can criticize the government that you are not able to mobilize enough revenue.
Right.
But we should understand that because we were not able to mobilize more revenue, either from domestic sources, from the financial market internationally, or from Chinese loans, because we are not able to do that, that affected the implementation of many projects. So if you do not analyze your situation based on this development, then I think that you will be very subjective and that you will not appreciate what the economy has gone through.
Thank you very much, John. John Gachi is a chartered economist. He's also a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. Earlier, we ended the conversation with Franklin Kunjo, who is founding president of Imani, Ghana. Let's go to Kumasi now. You recall the Kumasi Central Market, described as the biggest open market in West Africa, was ravaged by a fire, a second fire in 8 months last night. More than 100 shops have been gutted by the fire that started around 1 a.m. on Wednesday. And I'm joined by the Deputy Chief Fire Officer, Philip Ahin Mensah. He is the Ashanti Regional Command. Hello, Philip.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us on News Desk. But what can you tell us about this fire? It happens too soon after the second one, if you added last year's.
Yeah, but what you have to realize is that we are living with fire every day.
And so it's okay for your...
Fire is part and parcel of every human being.
But it doesn't make it okay for your property to be razed down by fire.
Yes, if you don't take good care of them.
And so they didn't take good care of themselves?
That is it.
Is that to say that's what your investigation is proving?
Oh, investigation is underway, but you see, there are certain things you have to do and not to do in order to protect yourself against fires. So when we talk about illegal connections and you continue to involve yourself in illegal connections, are you not calling for fire? If you say, don't do this, but you do it, are you not calling for fire? So you see, in most cases, we blame fire service.
I see. So the point is, I mean, from what you're telling me now, I get the impression all the recommendations from last year were not adhered to.
You see, after the investigation, we submitted the report to whoever commissioned the committee. who set up the committee. So, but we haven't seen any drastic change in the market.
You are obliged to do something when some of the changes that are supposed to make the public place safe are not put in place, isn't it?
If you can come again.
I'm saying you're obliged to take up sanctions against some of these public places who do not make it safe enough.
Yes.
As far as fire is concerned. What are you doing in this case?
You see, with the market, it is somehow very difficult. You see, from government to government, when you are dealing with agencies under the government, you see, it is very difficult, unlike with private organizations. You see, private organizations, the individuals or the managers know that the industry or the firm or the facility belongs to him as an individual. So they take good care of them. But you see, public sector, it is for government, and then you advise that they don't want to take the advice.
Deputy, and so what you are saying now is you're going to allow them to break the regulation because it's a market and you can't go to just one person. They have associations, don't they?
So the market also, I think the market, they have an association there. They can also ask KMA, who is the owner, to take good care of the market so that they can collect their tolls or taxes. Otherwise, they can also have a case against them.
Deputy, what I'm asking is, usually when a place does not meet fire standards, some steps are taken to make sure the place meets fire standards. If the owner of the place continues to flout those steps, you take sanctions against that person. Why can't we do same with the markets where you have given recommendations and nobody...
The law says that the owner or the occupier is supposed to acquire a fire certificate. Now, we've told KMA that they have to acquire a certificate for the market. But we don't know whether KMA is also asking the occupiers to acquire the certificate. Well, they have not told us.
Aren't you supposed to know? If you follow up, then you're supposed to know.
You see, dealing with government agencies is different from dealing with private agencies.
How different?
You see, okay, now assuming KMA flouted the law and we have to take KMA to court. You understand?
What is wrong with that?
Yes. You say what is wrong with it?
Yes, I'm asking. What is wrong with that? KMA owns the market. It's not. The market is used by.
Who is our counsel? Is it not Attorney General who is our counsel? And Attorney General is also the counsel for KMA.
And so you feel there's a problem there. Why you can't force KMA to adhere to fire regulations?
Don't you think there will be a problem? If my counsel is Attorney General, and then the counsel for KMA is also Attorney General.
In other words, it's become a bottleneck for you to make sure people within the public sector adhere to your regulations.
It's a difficult issue. It is difficult.
I see. I see. And so what are we doing about the markets? Are we just going to let them put up their structures back?
You see, not that we allow them to put up their structures. The market has an owner. The market does not belong to fire service. It belongs to KMA. So if fire service says that, don't do this before you do that, but KMA decides otherwise, what do you do?
I'm sure
let me go on. The previous fire, when the committee was set up, we told KMA that the structures should not be reconstructed until certain facilities have been provided. Before we could open our eyes, the structure has been provided. The structures have been provided and no measures were taken as far as fire safety is concerned. So what do? Can we go and raise it down? We don't have the mandate to raise those structures down. It is KMA. We have the mandate to raise those structures down. And it is their property. I
see. Thank you very much, Deputy. Philip Ahin Mensah is Ashanti. He is Deputy Chief Fire Officer and the Ashanti Regional Fire Commander. And we've been talking to him as far as the Kumasi Central Market fire is concerned. Adding last year is the third time the market is being raced down by fire. And you had my conversation with the Deputy Chief Fire Officer. The real bottleneck, why they can't force the KMA to adhere to their recommendations and fire safety regulations. Let's go there now and speak to Joynews' correspondent, Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin. Hello, Nuruddin.
Hello, Kamini.
Thanks for joining us on News Desk. What have you gathered this morning after the fire?
Well, Kamini, traders are surprised that the fire has scattered their shops. Most of them that I spoke with told me they don't even have electricity in their shops because of the incident that occurred last year. So they decided not to connect electricity to their shops, but there are other co-traders who connected electricity to their shop. Some of them did it illegally, and they are suspecting that that could be the cause of the fire at the market. So they were very sad. They were unhappy about the incident. And if you look at how the fire service tenders were placed, it's quite far from where the incident occurred. The fire service personnel could have effortlessly fought the fire, but for the fact that the place is always congested, making even fire hydrants in the market not easily accessible. So that alone has prevented them from getting access to the scene. And so about almost over 100 shops were burnt down.
I see. What does the market look like now? We have pictures of what happened over the night, but right now, describe to us what the market looks like.
Well, Kamini, let me just tell you exactly where the incident occurred. It occurred at the middle of the market. If you are from the Ababu station to Bola, or where they call Dr. Mensa, yeah, that is where the fire happened, and in the middle of the market.
Right.
So locating or getting into that place is quite difficult. So as I'm speaking now, the shops are burned completely, and I am not sure those structures can be used for trading anymore. I think it has to be pulled down.
Interacting with the traders, what have they been telling you?
They are saying they are calling for the redevelopment of the market, because they are saying if they have agreed that the market, if they have agreed the market to be redeveloped, these issues wouldn't have come up. So they are calling for the redevelopment of the market into a modern one, so that this fire incident would reduce in the market. And they are also saying the recommendation that was brought out by a committee last year has not been implemented. That is rewiring of the whole market. And so they are saying all these things need to be done. Some of them that I spoke with continue to tell me that because of their colleagues who are not in agreement with certain things like the redevelopment, the rewiring and all that, it's giving them a lot of problems. And so they are calling for authorities to come in and then do that immediately.
I see. And so how about trading in the markets?
Well, traders close to where the incident occurred are conducting business as of now, but for those the affected traders are still counting their losses. You know, they wouldn't be able to conduct any business today, and
I see.
Because all their properties were burnt.
What have you heard from the KMA?
We have not gathered any information from them because they haven't. At the time we were at the market, the KMA haven't come yet, and we are hoping when we get in touch with them, we'll find out what they are also putting in place to get these problems resolved.
Thank you very much, Nuruddin. Mohammed Nuruddin joined us from the Ashanti region. On to Facebook now. Some of you have been sharing your thoughts with me, and I would love to share it with the rest of us here. On the fire, for instance, Bonti Benjamin says, I sympathize with our mothers in Central Market who have lost their business as a result of the fire break. Meanwhile, Kofi Ajay Amu opines, yes, our motherland is angry because our ambassadors don't tell a single truth, and how I wish this would start right from the high places and burn their lying tongues into ashes. Now that's an angry Kofi. Abotire Awongo Abraham says, God is still great. Oreku Chika Amofa is totally surprised there is fire again. And Entry Joseph, same here, and is asking about fire again. But let's go on to the president's delivery on the state of the economy. And Nana Kwame Bizil Frimpong says, Mr. President, before God and man, you're presentable. You're a good communicator. I like these attributes, but people around you are making you visionless. A word to the wise is enough. O'Neill Lucas says, what are the signs to show of the positive things coming? And Barry Frimpong says, I like that. And while Francis Austin is asking a question, indeed, our president, is he now? Douglas, my answer says, well, that'll be all for your messages. Stay on News Desk. I'll be right back. I'm glad you could stay on. This is News Desk with me, Kemini Nyamani Amano. Let's get into issues that have to do with the STC. And, well, management of Intercity STC Company Limited is still crying for recapitalization of the company so it can compete effectively in the sector. As new head of operations, Victor Anane Frimpong, has told Joynews the company is currently running with only 20 buses, which is 80 short of the minimum it requires to operate profitably. Take a listen to Victor.
The woes of the once vibrant Intercity STC Company Limited seem unending in spite of several calls to overhaul and bring it back to its feet. The company has a fleet of 39 buses, but only 20 are roadworthy. The remaining are all faulty. Plying routes such as Tamale, Acquah, Abidjan, Cotonou, among others, the company requires between 50 to 100 buses to operate at its optimum. But that requires huge sums of money which the company cannot boast of now.
The government can give STC the last chance, all right, and give us a fleet, minimum about 50 Scania, which is our choice. And I can assure you that we would, I mean, based upon performance agreements, they give you a performance contract. 2 years, you perform. If you don't perform, you go. We also will sign additional performance for that. So if you achieve a target, because you need buses to run. You are the manager of Susan, so you need how many buses you need. I give you these buses. I'm giving you a target. If you are unable to achieve it, I'm giving you first quarter, second quarter. If you are unable to deal with it, you're off.
The Intercity STC company, after halting its operations on the Kumasi-Accra route, worsened its debt stock, losing its viability. For the new head of operations of the company, Victor Anane Frimpong, STC's current plight is as a result of its initial non-profit making objective.
You see, STC has a lot of debts in the past, because it was being run not with the aim of making profit. Fuel, they were not paying. Buses, they just run them and it gets spoiled with the hope government will bring, like Metromas. But those type of transport trends cannot be sustained. So now the government cannot continue to do that. We must run transport with the aim of generating revenue to pay ourselves and to buy more. I think that one of the cardinal or one of the critical issues that continues to run STC inefficiently is because STC must break away from running all routes without regard to how profitable is the route is. For me, that is one of the cardinal issues. And that is what I would want to ensure, that when we have fleets, that will be our primary objective.
He also agrees with arguments that the operational turf war between the company's shareholders, SNIT, and government over its management and control also played a role. Vanef, a private entity who took over the company some time back, according to Victor Ananifempong, had good management principles, including a stringent performance monitoring system, which he intends to reintroduce to avoid any case of mismanagement. Abigail Adamakwenchi for Joynews.
Well, so that is what Victor Anane said. And I have with me the STC union staff reacting to it. And I have Junior Staff Association of Union Chairman for STC, Hope Kofi Klu. Thank you very much, Hope, for joining us.
Thank you, madam.
What are your concerns with what Victor said?
Yeah, what he says, that is the view of the management. The very management, the workers are saying that they should go or they need to go. As at last year, they are still at post. I'm talking about the board, the MD, they are still there. His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, had appointed Honorable Samuel Nyomadonko to take in charge of the company as at 1st December 2013. But then the former MD, in the presence of Charles Thompson, is still at post, refusing to the orders of the president. So as I'm talking to you now, the new MD is indisposed. He was not given the chance to operate.
I see.
And the workers are saying that we had worked and tested with this so-called management, and they are failures. We used to have coaches as of last year, 30 running nationwide. As I'm talking to you now, we have 16, 17, 18 coaches nationwide. That tells you that we are declining. The company is gradually going down, just like Ghana Airways. What we're saying is that issues have been addressed, and we are highly informed by the sector minister that the government and cabinet has already sat down on our issue. And for that matter, it is only left with the chief of staff to just act for the new MD and the new board to be in place so that we move forward.
I see. And so how is work going on now? Because you've asked that the board be changed, you've asked that the MD be changed. Those things have been done with regards to the MD, but they have not been implemented.
Yes, please.
And so how is it affecting work?
So bad. If you come to the yard, the whole place is just like a cemetery. Nothing is moving. As at when we went to as at the last year we demonstrated, our grievances, nothing has been done to it. Everything stands still. But then we as the leaders are only talking to our union member workers that they should just temper justice, they should just relax. So far as the government is in charge, as at when the government acts, we will be reliable, informed.
I see. And so what is it that you as staff have heard about why this government appointee isn't at post? I understand he should have been there from last year, December. Why do you think he is not taking his position?
We've been told that Smith is the majority shareholder of the company and the government owes 20%. Right? What we know for a fact is that Smith's government is the same. Right? So if the government being a minority shareholder had spoken, I believe orders of the president must be applied. Sincerely, what I want to put down there is that the workers are feeling so bitter and so bad after 6 months of showing their displeasure. By the close of the day, the same people we accused set up a committee, which we went and we appeared, proved our case. The outcome was so bad, those who were to be sanctioned were left out of the hook. So it's as if we appeared before a pig committee or a kangaroo committee, and nothing happened. So we stood on our ground, petitioned the sector minister that, madam, we believe we need to, see our issues very critically. That at least the company should be at heart of Ghanaians. At least workers want to work, we're prepared to work. Just that the management is so bad that they are not performing, they are not up to their task. That is why the company is living so bad. So we are calling on the president or the chief of staff that we are humbly pleading with the president to act very fast to save the situation.
Are you making any profits?
Not at all.
I see. How are you paid?
Very bad. For 10 good years now, workers' salaries hasn't been increased. It's part of our grievances. Workers' salaries are so low as a driver who driven STC bus for 20 good years is now living, going home with 241 Ghana cedi. Is that so good?
I recall as of last year, you had concerns about some salary arrears.
Yeah.
And you talk about the fact that over the last 6 months, you've not made any proper gains. Have you been paid?
Those salary arrears have been attended to. So for now, what we're talking about is that, one...
But they managed to pay you then?
They do not.
They do not owe you any money?
Yeah, for salary, what happens is SNIT came in to rescue, and they were able to do away with the salary. So there's no problem.
Let me tell you something, what SNIT intends to do. It wants to increase the 80% share to 26%. What do you think about it?
We believe for a prudent management of the place. SNIT has been with us for some time now. We believe they are not on top of issue. If they want to go, the entire workers are saying that they should give away. The government is fully prepared to take the whole share. Why am I saying so? We've been with them. It is as if they are not interested in running a transport viable company. Is that okay? If they are up to the tax, they would have to deliver. Now there is a total failure. The place is not as it used to be. Intercity STs or transport, state transport, was once a vibrant company. Every Ghanaian can attest to that. Our honorable minister had ever used that, but when they were going to school those days, even the city president, is that the situation you see now? No. If they want to go, they should leave the company alone for the government to take fully in charge of the company so that we move forward. That is what the workers are saying, because they are running the whole place the way they want it, and that is not the way we want the company to be.
I see. But Victor Anane is talking about the fact that we should give it to some private investors.
That is his own personal opinion.
Will that work for you? Do you think that...
We are in the hands of the city president. It is the government that has spoken. As I'm talking to you now, the entire workers has restrained themselves. They've restrained themselves that, okay, since the government had come in now, let us just relax and see what the government is going to do. The private investor come, that is it. We've seen their performance. They were not able to deliver. Why don't we give the government a chance, since we are prepared to work with the government and make sure the right thing are done so that we move from there.
What are you going to do to make sure that this old MD leaves post?
What I want to tell you this morning is that everybody or every worker of Intercity STC knew that Charles Thompson is still at post. He's only refusing to go. But then as I'm here, by leaving here from tomorrow, if he comes there, if the anger of the workers rise on him or his name will handle, that is his own cup of tea.
That will be against the law too.
It is. So just simple instructions, he ought to apply by it. He must to go with it.
You're willing to break the law to see Charles go?
We will only make sure the right thing is done. The workers have said that they've relaxed for so long. After 6 months of demonstration, we believe orders of the president must be respected. He should live in peace. Else, by tomorrow, if unforeseen happened to him, he has himself to be blamed.
I see. Thank you very much, Hope. We've run out of time already. Hope, Kofi Klu is Junior Staff Association.
Divisional chairman.
He's divisional chairman as well of Intercity STC, and we've been talking about some of the grievances, and this time it has to do with the fact that the old manager is still at post, the old MD is still at post in spite of government's appointment of a new MD. There's one other important issue we're unable to tackle on the program, and it has to do with water and what the sector minister has been briefing media about. Here's what we'll do. On News Today, I'll bring you up to speed as to what the minister has been saying. You don't want to miss that. I'll see you at midday on that. And for now, goodbye from me. My name is Kimini Nyamani. I'm going to stay on for CNBC's Power Lunch.